Hello, Tom LeVecchia here with the continuation of the New Theory podcast. Today in studio, we are having Luvleen, I should say call-in studio, Luvleen Sidhu, co-founder, president, and chief strategy officer of bankMobile. What is bankMobile? Well, we're going to find out today and learn more about the company and more about Luvleen. Luvleen, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Tom. Happy to be here.
Where are you calling in from?
I'm in New York City. We work out of a WeWork, so some nice co-location startup space.
Very nice. So interesting. Okay, so I was at a WeWork location. I want to say downtown. Which one are you at?
We're the one on Park Avenue South.
Okay, beautiful. So technically you have a Park Avenue address, right?
Yeah, we do.
All right.
Like some of the traditional corporations.
There you go. All right. So let's jump right in. First, give us your formative years. Where did you grow up and how did you become you?
Oh, deep questions. So I grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's about an hour outside of Philadelphia. I went to traditional public school, which I highly enjoyed the experience. Had a dream of going to Harvard, and I did work pretty hard in high school, and I was student government president, and really just pushed myself in terms of leadership. I ended up at Harvard.
Oh wow!
And I spent 4 years there. I majored in political science.
Okay.
My intern while I was there at Lehman Brothers, my sophomore year, my junior year, went for my full-time offer my senior year. And my first day of my career was the Lehman bankruptcy.
Come on.
So very interesting way to start.
Wait. Time out. You hustle and go to Harvard.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, Lehman was very Harvard friendly, correct?
Yeah, they visited campus quite often for recruiting.
All right. So obviously you're Harvard trained undergrad, so a lot of people want you. So did you have multiple offers, or was that your first offer and you jumped at it? Walk us through even before you sat down in the chair.
Yeah, it was the only offer that I was considering, and probably my only offer because I didn't recruit. So I stayed with them my sophomore year, my junior year, and got my full-time offer. And I loved Lehman, so I had no problem sort of accepting that offer.
Oh wow! Wow.
But it was quite scary to start my career. 6 weeks of training. First day on the job was the bankruptcy. And I remember, I don't know if you remember, but looking at the TV screens and people walking out with boxes,
yes,
and angry and upset. And I called HR and I was like, are we supposed to go in today? and the response, and I just couldn't believe it, was, yes, business as usual.
It's funny. We don't do a ton of crisis management, but one of my best friends, I'm sorry, but he has a black cloud over him. He was at Arthur Andersen back in the day during Enron. And then he went over to one hedge fund, which was like wildly successful, and then shuttered while he was there. And I'm like, dude, you're just toxic. And he was at Arthur. He was at Arthur Andersen at the time, and he told me a story about he called the help desk, and he needed help, and the ship was sinking, and the person who just opened up was like, listen, I'll help you, but I don't think it matters. But what I'm saying is the HR people toe the line, and I understand that. But the same token, when you walk in and everybody's walking out with boxes, maybe you got to humanize it a little bit,
Agreed. I still laugh at that when I reflect. Pretty amazing.
So what
but to their merit, I did end up spending 2 years still at Lehman. Our part of the business became Neuberger Berman, and I worked in their hedge fund of funds investing group.
Okay.
So I did spend 2 years there.
Okay. So obviously you stayed there. The person said go in. Did you interrupt? Meaning did you kind of hang out at home for 6 weeks? And then re-engage, or did you report to that Lehman building?
No, right away. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so you stayed employed. You're fresh out of Harvard. You're living in Manhattan, which is hopefully pretty cool. And then what did you do specifically? What was your role there?
So I worked in their hedge fund of funds group, as I mentioned. So what we did was meet with different hedge funds.
Okay.
And we basically had capital from a bunch of different institutional and high net worth sort of investors,
Okay.
and we would invest their money in a portfolio of hedge funds. So my day-to-day job was meeting with different hedge funds, learning the different hedge fund strategies, and then supporting the team to sort of decide how we should allocate and which hedge funds we should invest in.
Got it. And those are the good days of the 2 and 20. All right. So you're young. You're working in hedge funds. You're working in New York City. You mentioned you did it for a few years. I'm assuming you graduated from that. What did you do next?
Yeah, so I decided I wanted to try something new. So I actually joined Customers Bank, which is today our parent company.
Okay.
And it was an opportunity for me to get a different experience in finance. And so this was on the retail banking side. I worked in business development, and it was actually my first opportunity to begin understanding the need for a digital banking solution, and also see what some of the first movers in this space were doing. So I actually had a lot of conversations at the time with Simple, which is one of the neobanks that is pretty well known, and far along in discussions and strategic opportunities there that we never followed through with, but definitely an introduction to where I am today.
Okay, I do have to ask this. You're on the hedge fund side, right? And you're whether fund to fund or investing on high net worth individuals, and then you're dealing with hedge funds that pay an obnoxious amount of money, right? So and you call it the heyday too, which I think the heyday is kind of shedding a little darkness. I just did an article on how quants are beating up hedge funds. So I don't know what type of life they have, 5, 10, 20 years from now. But you were there at the heyday. When I think of retail banking, it's lower margins, toaster ovens, that kind of stuff, kind of joking around. But it's a much lower margins. Did you get a higher position in a lower margin retail, or you actually like retail? Walk me through that decision, because I want to know the basis for that.
Yeah, so I think that I was very interested in exploring all around financial institutions. Okay. So, I did the investing side, and I loved it in terms of being able to learn about the markets and different strategies of investing. But I loved what I learned. I didn't love the day-to-day job.
Got it.
So I wanted to look for something else and expose myself to something new.
Okay. So now you're on the retail side in a different capacity, learning a different part of it. I respect that, because when I was probably about your age at the time, I was in pharmaceuticals, and I moved around a lot, not in a negative way, but I wanted to learn each aspect of the business, because I eventually wanted to either open my own business or run a business unit. So I felt I couldn't learn how to run a unit if I didn't know all the moving parts. So I respect that. So is this what you brought you to bankMobile, or is there an interstitial before that?
No, so didn't work on bankMobile at this point, but definitely opened my eyes to the possibility and need for a digital banking disruptor at that point. But it was at this time that I applied for business school, and I ended up at Wharton. University of Pennsylvania's business school.
Jesus.
And it was there that, we spent a lot of time studying different cases of different business models and different entrepreneurial ventures that were really based on this idea of finding antiquated industries and being able to sort of revolutionize them, utilizing technology to really change the business model on top of its head. And I was intrigued by that. And I had a lot of familiarity with the financial services space. And it's really antiquated in terms of the business model, as well as so much to be improved on the consumer experience side. So that's where my mind really started ticking about, hey, there's an opportunity here.
All right, so hold on. So you're Harvard undergrad, semi-Lehman legacy or Neuberger. You graduate from Wharton in finance. I mean, I'm something intimidated now. So what's next?
So I actually spent my summer in between my 2 years at business school at Booz & Company.
Oh, wow.
And I worked in their financial services practice. So got some consulting experience. And again, I think a lot of my experiences were leading me to where I am today. So we helped advise a bank that was launching a digital bank within their business. And so that was the project that I was staffed on. Okay. So again, it was really helping me in the direction where I am today.
All right.
And talk about being bad luck. So I started at Booz in the summer, and by the time I went for my full-time offer, PwC bought Booz and Company.
Oh.
And my position was still there, so I didn't lose my job again for my full-time offer. I didn't end up taking it, but it's interesting because it became branded Strategy which I've never understood that name, but it seems to be working for them. But I never ended up going there full-time.
Well, it's interesting because there was a big run toward hedge funds in consulting and obnoxious consulting fees. You got like Accenture and a few other big players and previous Anderson Consulting. And although that's still around, that's not as robust either. And a lot of the Ivy League, players, as you know, like to go into those groups. So at this point, now listen, you're a badass, so hats off to you, right? But you're following somewhat the traditional path, right? You're doing consulting, you work in investments, you work in the banking industry. So this is part and parcel, setting you up, right? But you're in an entrepreneurial space. So I'm kind of interested to see how you went from maybe being an intrapreneur over to an entrepreneur. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so I think that through these experiences, it became very clear to me that an opportunity existed to really disrupt the banking space. And so when I had my consulting summer, I really enjoyed it. And that also, in a way, really structures you or develops you to be a business owner, to think strategically about things. You just don't get the execution piece, which is a lot of fun.
Correct.
So I had the opportunity with that experience to start thinking about this business idea that I had. And, given my experience in financial services, I understood that, having bank branches open one net new checking account per branch per week. So bank branches are opening annually just 52 net checking accounts a week.
Oh, wow.
That is not a very efficient model, given how costly it is to support bank branches.
Correct.
At the same time, sort of seeing that it's costing these banks, traditional banks, $300 to $500 on average to acquire a customer. That is definitely a very high cost for customer acquisition.
Correct.
And then just being a consumer, just going into a bank branch and having to deal with, typical banking sort of tasks that you need to do and not getting the customization, the personalization, the efficiency. And now even with the banking apps, there's definitely still a lot of frustration that does exist from a customer service standpoint and even a technology standpoint. That how can we start living in an era in banking and financial services that's on par with technology companies that we're used to?
Okay, so keep going. Yeah, go ahead. This is good. Keep going because now you're getting right into it. So what exactly is bankMobile? Because this is exciting.
Yeah, so bankMobile really started with the vision that there should be a disruptor in the space, and to me, disruption is really about, can we create a product that's better than what exists today? Is it more affordable, easier to use? And most importantly, does it have a business model where you are as profitable, if not more profitable, than the traditional model? And so really setting out with these sort of criteria, launched bankMobile, completely digital, no branches. You can get it. It's a mobile-first strategy. And we launched, and we were the first bank in the country to be completely fee-free. And to be honest, that's a big deal in the U.S. We are the first bank in the country that is absolutely fee-free. And that's, Americans are being charged $33 billion a year in just overdraft fees. So definitely a huge social sort of mission here.
All right, so hold on. So we're all right, I don't want to deep dive too much, but we're also glossing over a few things. Okay, so first part is this. Are you a true bank where you're part of FDIC and all that fun stuff, or are you the technology house that is a portal or gateway to, a white label bank or other banks? What's the model exactly?
Yeah, so our model is that we are an FDIC insured bank with a bank charter.
Oh, wow.
So that's really important to us. We really believe that the true successful model is a hybrid between fintech and having a bank charter. So we call ourselves a fintech company that happens to have a bank charter, and we really have the best of both worlds, the technology savviness as well as the bank charter that creates barriers to entry and also protection for consumers.
All right. So although I want to focus on the features and benefits and how it'll benefit millennials, where are you at in your funding? Did you do your friends and family, or you pass round A? Where are you in your funding rounds?
So going back to my experience at Customers Bank, we started off with launching with being venture capital coming from Customers Bank and also leveraging their bank charter. So today we are a division of Customers Bank. We are raising capital right now to be able to divest that business. And we've identified another bank where we're going to continue having the bank charter. And so that's where we are today.
So you basically went to your boss and said, hey, give me money, I have this idea. Is that fair?
You could say that. You could say that.
All right. So you partnered up with a larger firm. You're going to continue a relationship as a charter with another company. And then where are you going to get the money from? Do you think you're going to get it from that other charter bank? Or are you going to continue with BC relationships? Because in banks it's tricky because the customer acquisition cost is high. But, do you have runway?
Yeah, so our customer acquisition is actually essentially zero. And we've done this not through our direct consumer strategy, but through our distribution sort of channel strategy. And what I mean by this is that we've partnered, firstly, it's a strategy that's definitely scalable, but we started first with 800 colleges and universities that we have contracts with. And as I said before, we're a tech company that happens to have a bank charter. So what we did is we have the technology developed that's patented that helps these schools in a compliant way and in a cost-effective way to be able to send any money between the school and the students. And this is typically financial aid refunds, where the student has financial aid, it's applied to tuition, and there's amount left over that needs to be distributed back to the student for living expenses, etc. In return, these students get to choose, do they want to ACH to their existing bank account, or do they want to open a bankMobile checking account? And it's been an awesome customer acquisition strategy for us.
Okay, I got to ask, what's the conversion rate? Because if you don't mind,
Yeah, it's about 25% today.
That's high.
Yep, and it allows us to open about close to 400,000 new accounts a year.
Okay, so because I was going to call, no offense, I was going to call bullshit on the zero acquisition cost. But then I'm assuming that you're not paying the school for that relationship. And
they're paying us. Yeah, that's how it becomes zero.
You're correct. Wow. Who thought of that? You?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story. We were struggling because we started off as a direct-to-consumer strategy, and we were growing way faster than traditional banks, the 52 net checking accounts per branch per year.
Yeah.
But we were definitely not growing exponentially. So it was a difficult time sort of trying to figure out, how do we pivot? How do we crack the code for customer acquisition? And Customers Bank actually had a partner bank relationship with colleges and universities, and we formalized a relationship to be able to leverage that to be able to get where we are today.
How many downloads?
Well, we have 1.7 million customers banking with us.
And it's all via iOS and Google Play, or do you do website as well?
And website. Mm-hmm.
So when I look at, is it bankMobile Vibe app or bankMobile division of Customers Bank?
Yeah, so our open market account is bankMobile through Customers Bank. It's bankMobile Bold. Okay. bankMobile Vibe is the ones that the banking app that we distribute through our school relationships.
Jesus, yeah, that's 500,000 downloads just in Google Play. All right, you got my attention. Okay, so you figured out a lower CAC, right? Customer acquisition cost, or none. You're getting downloads, you're getting utilization. Okay, 25% conversion, which is awesome. What's a metric that, do I apply tech metrics here? Number of daily active users? Do we apply average balances? What's your measurement for success internally or in your mind? Because there's a few different questions I want to ask, but I don't even know what to ask because I don't know how to.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure. So 70% of our income comes from what you call interchange revenue. And that means that every time someone swipes their debit card, we get a percentage of that transaction. The merchant pays that. It never
Correct.
comes from the consumer. So our strategy is really to get people to direct deposit into their account. So their paycheck should come into this account. It should be their primary banking relationship, because then that also becomes your spend account. And that's how we end up making money. And this is also one of the reasons why we're divesting from Customers Bank. So in the U.S., today, a regulatory arbitrage sort of exists where banks that are under $10 billion in assets make about 4 to 5 times more in interchange revenue than banks over $10 billion in assets. And Customers Bank is at $9.9 billion right now. And so we want to protect our main revenue driver, and that's why we are divesting the business.
That's actually interesting. All right. So, okay. So I get an account, I download it, I make you either primary or secondary. I have a checking account with you, I have a savings account with you, I get a debit card with you, which are used for my transactions. Are you going to get into lending, mortgages, and that kind of stuff, or are you going to be more on the savings side?
No, we already offer a line of credit through the bankMobile Bold application. For the student business, we definitely are offering credit as well, but it's a different space. Students are a protected class. There's something called the Card Act, where you're not supposed to actively solicit credit to students. So it's more about a strategy of being able to be there as their first lender as soon as they unenroll or graduate.
Because then you have a whole bunch of people there. Okay. So at 800 schools, a 25% conversion, where are you versus your max cap there? Because I got to say, that's actually pretty good. So do you feel, hey, we have a huge upside there, we're going to continue in this channel, or do you think you hit your max cap and you're focusing maybe on other channels to expand? Because you're doing a great job, but what's your expansion strategy look like, the current funnel, and what are your new opportunities?
So I'm not happy with stopping at 25%.
Okay.
I want to get to at least 35%.
Okay.
And so going to continue to work on getting brand awareness out there and getting people to adopt the account. At the same time, it's not just about getting people to open the account, but it's getting them to use it and then see value and wanting to keep that banking relationship through life. So that strategy really entails making sure that we continue to please our customers from a customer service standpoint, to increase sort of our product set and be able to offer more than the line of credit. So we're offering a credit card later this year, but haven't started offering anything beyond that at this point. But we plan to be primarily offering debit cards and credit cards, and then working with other fintech partners to be able to offer other types of lending, investing products, wealth management products, working through a referral program and finding the best in breed to partner with.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're going.
Okay. So the end user, the millennial that decides to sign up for this, there are no fees for the end user, or there's some fees?
So for our student account, there's essentially no fees. The only fee we have on that account is a card replacement fee. Because I tell you, college students end up losing their card quite often. It ended up being a huge expense for us, so we had to layer that on.
I love it. And then what's your role as co-founder? You founded this. I saw there's a CEO as well. Is that your husband? Is that a brother? Who's that?
It's actually my father.
Your father. Okay. So you're working with your father on this endeavor. And then how many employees is your subsidiary out of this moment?
So just bankMobile has 220.
And you're all out of WeWork?
No. So New York offices are the smallest, actually. That's in WeWork in New York. Then we have a team of about 30 developers in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And then the remaining team is in New Haven, Connecticut.
Okay, so you insourced all your tech?
Yes, we did. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then Go ahead.
Yep.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's really important for us because we view ourselves primarily as a technology company first. So that's our edge. That's our innovation going forward. So we invest the most in that.
All right. So what does a dream exit look like?
Well, for me, I think that the most important thing to me on a personal level, and I think that always leads to, or usually always leads to monetary success as well, is to create as much value through this disruptive digital banking model in people's lives. So being able for some just to make their life more convenient and easier, for others actually providing the education, the platform, the tools to really build their financial foundation from credit to savings and really changing and transforming their life. And by being able to create that sort of value, and then third, to really create innovation, machine learning, artificial intelligence, there's so many exponentially growing untapped technologies being used, not being used in financial services, to really be a disruptor in innovation. And so those are really my personal goals. And then I would love for bankMobile to see huge monetary success based on sort of, that purpose also being fulfilled.
Okay. So there's a lot of social responsibility. Obviously, you want to make money doing it. That makes sense. Since you're with a parent bank, is that public, that your parent bank?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So is it public knowledge on what your capitalization is for your company right now, or is that private?
So bankMobile, it's hard to value at this point as we're raising capital and spinning out. But our announced deal back in March was 175 million. So that's still that's a good way to sort of measure the value at this point.
Wow. Listen, I'll be very candid. I had some pretty big names on. I don't know if you know Nathan Chaney, founder of Magazine, Nathan Laka, who is like you. He's a rock star. I even had a mobster who's making like $5 million a week who turned his life around to become a Christian speaker. But I had some pretty badass people on it, and you're going to be up there, if not up there, because I'm thoroughly impressed because you have the academic chops, you seem like you have the street smarts, and then more importantly, you're doing it. So listen, I think at this point, I know you're probably younger, but at this point, you do have a right to give this type of advice. What type of advice do you have to maybe younger females, millennial females, or younger millennial males, etc., to how to become successful like you? What are some your pearls and advice before we conclude?
So for me, it's so important to be determined to never give up, because I can tell you the ups and downs, personal life, professional life, that sort of series of life's ebbs and flows don't change. And the only thing that changes is your reaction to it. And what I have found is if I am determined to achieve a certain goal, I'm going to give it 110%. And when you do that, so many roadblocks end up showing up. It's like the universe is testing you or something. Sure. And my best advice is whenever I persevere through those obstacles, I always get to the outcome I'm looking for or something better. And so I'd really suggest that, push forward, persevere, and really never give up for things that you are truly excited and passionate about.
It's funny. I met Mickey Ward. He was a boxer from the movie The Fighter. Have you seen it by chance?
No, I haven't.
And he was it's a good movie with Christian Bale. I think it was produced by Mark Wahlberg. But anyway, a few years ago. And I met him, and he said the same exact thing. He goes, he's going to shit kick out of me. But he says, I never gave up. And he goes, you just never give up. So, Luvleen Sidhu, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. We will get this up shortly. And we really appreciate you being on the New Theory podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, 1 second. Fantastic job. And I'll get it up shortly. And